Hi, my name's Tom Rusu, and today we're going to do a video on how you take a part that is out of square and turn it into a perfect square by machining 4 sides. The most important thing about machining anything is make sure everything is absolutely clean. We're going to clean the vise out. First, wipe it with a rag, and then I like to use my hand. There's a lot of the little particles will stick to your hand that the rag ain't getting. Plus you can feel if there's any kind of imperfections in the vise. Just the slightest little thing underneath will throw the part out. So then you wipe your parallels out, wipe it with your hand, and I always slide them in like this. I don't just set them in, because if anything's in there you actually can push it out by sliding. So move them around, make sure they feel good. We're going to take this block of aluminum and we're going to do the ends first, because right now this is stock finish, it's pretty square, so I usually do the sides first, but we're going to do the ends first because this is square. Because this part is longer, I'm going to split the difference and try to leave stock on both ends to sit, because I am going to bring this part to length without taking it out of vise. So we lock it in. Now we tap it down. Check your parallels. If they don't move, that means the part is flush. It's flat. It's sitting on the parallel. Okay, we're going to take a 4 flute 5/8 end mill. We're going to put it in a 5/8 collet. We're going to put the end mill in the collet past the flat. You don't want the flat exposed. You want it past. So you have something to smooth to hold on to when you put this in, and you don't cut your fingers on this, on the flutes. Okay, now we're going to insert the collet into the quill. Inside the quill there's a key. The key rides into this slot. So you should turn until you find the key. Push all the way up. Hold it. Now this type of machine has an automatic drawbar, so you're not using a wrench to tighten this up. Okay, so there's your tool. It's installed. Now you have to move the table so you can take your cut. I'm going to bring the quill down so the middle of the part is in the middle of the flutes. And I'll lock the quill and I'll move the quill stop up so it don't drift down. Okay, we are ready to take a cut. We're going to take a minimal amount off the face of this part, because the part's almost the size. It finishes at 6 1/4. So we want to take the least amount off. I think there's maybe 30 thousandths on this. So right now it's ready to go, and we're going to turn the machine on. Check our speed. Okay, we're going to adjust this speed for a 5/8 cutter, 4 flute for aluminum. So you got a range anywhere from 5 to 600. On a 4 flute cutter, you don't want to run it really fast, and this applies to any 4 flute cutter, especially on aluminum. I'm going to bring the part to the tool. Now, I'm going to change the x-axis. I'm going to come in and just lightly touch the end of the part. Once I'm touching, I will back the tool out of the way. I will change X to 0. There, now we're ready to take our cut. I'm cutting on 0 just to see how much I'm actually going to need to take off to clean the part off. Now you can see that only part of the part is machined. The rest is still a saw cut. So I am going to estimate by eye how much I have to take off. So I am going to actually go in another 10 thousandths. Take another cut across it. Okay, now just the sight and sound of it's telling me I am actually cutting the whole face of the part. So I conventionally cut forward. Now coming back is going to climb cut a little bit, but I am not moving the table. It is actually the deflection of the end mill that is cutting. So the slower you go, the nicer your finish comes out on your return cut. So that right there, I can zero that again. Shut the machine off, break. Okay, what we're going to do now, we are not going to take the part out of the vise. Usually, if you have a smaller part, you flip it and cut the other end. But being this part is bigger than the vise, we don't have to do that, and we don't even have to measure now. We're just going to make direct moves. So right now we are set on 0. We're going to lift the cutter up to clear the vise. Now, we're going to move the x-axis 6 1/4. That is our finish of this part. So we're going to actually move this 6-inch 250 thousandths. Okay, we're at 6,250 right now, but the cutter is not at the end of the part. So what we have to do, we have to add the cutter onto this. So if you don't have a calculator handy, all you have to do is zero this, then move your cutter, which is 5/8. So you move another 625,000. That right there puts you at the finish of the part. Okay, I gotta bring the table towards me because we got a conventional cut. So it's the opposite of this side. This side we started from here to here. This side we start from here to here. So now we're at 5/8 plus. We're going to bring our cutter down, lock it, turn the machine on. Now we're going to take the final cut. Go forward and come back. That finishes the length of the part. Okay, now I said that you could have done this without even checking the length of it. If all your arithmetic and your cutters are all to spec, it should be identical to what you want. So by making your moves off your readout. But if you don't believe it, you can always check it. This is right on 6 1/4 where it's supposed to be. So that's just a quick way to square something up with the least amount of moves of flipping your part around. So next we're going to do the sides of the part. Okay, so now we're done with this. We got to change this entire setup down again. So we take your part out, make sure it has no burrs on it. Now if it does have sharp burrs, you're going to have to file it, but this is pretty good because we didn't take a large amount off. We take our parallels out. We're not going to use them. We have a choice here. We unlock this, bring this up. Now I'm going to take this cutter out. Now there's a choice. If you have a large enough cutter, and I'm talking like this, it's bigger than the part, you can use it. If you don't, then you have to use your cutter that you have. You use half the size of it and walk your way around it. It's like overlapping cut, like cutting grass. You come down one side and back up the other. It's just as good, but usually taking it off in one sweep is the best thing you can do. So that's what we're going to do. One cutter, one cut. That's it. So, you do the exact same thing you did before. Clean the vise out. Now you do not use your parallel. Make sure your part's clean. You set your part directly in the bottom of the vise. Close your vise. Lock it. Now, I have to get another collet. Okay, now we're using, this is an 1.1/8" end mill with a 3/4 shank, so you use your 3/4 end mill. It's identical like we did before. Slide it in till you don't see the flat. You hold your finger, slide it in, and then find your key, up, in. So, you center your part. Okay, now we're going to bring the cutter down, lock it in position. Now we're going to bring the table under it. So you want to spin it to see if it's centered. Okay. Lock it, bring your stop up. This handle will be in the way. You don't want it hitting anything. This type of handle you can move without moving the quill. So if you throw it out like this and up, it actually just moves the handle, not the cutter. So we're over the part. We got our cutter. We're going to start the machine. Now we're going to bring the Z-axis up. Until I just lightly touch the part. Until I see a line. Okay, I'm touching. I'm going to move the part out from under the cutter. Okay, from the point of touching your part, we unlock this nut. Turn the dial until we set 0. That is our 0. That is the top of the part right there. Now if you look, you can see only half of this part is actually cutting. That's because the stock size is not parallel to each side or not square. Okay, from that 0, I said this part was 3 inches and we're going to make it 2-inch 950. So that's 50 thousandths too big. So roughly, I'm going to move this up 25 thousandths. Okay, so now we're ready to take our cut. Okay, that finishes the one side. So we shut the machine off. The brake. Now, we make sure we clean all the chips off because when we want to unlock this vise, we don't want any chips falling down into it. If they do, you're going to have to really clean it again. So that finishes the one side. Now, you have burrs on this part. These are the sharp edges. You cannot just put this part in with them burrs. It'll actually throw everything out that you're striving to do. So, the best way to do it is deburr it with a file. File goes in one direction. Now the way you should file, you should go 1, roll it 2, 3. If you rub your finger here and you don't see any blood, you're in good shape. Now you can do the ends too. Make sure that everything's absolutely clean. So, there we go. Now, we're ready to put the finished side you just cut down. Close the vise. Now we want to hit it with the hammer to make sure it's absolutely seated. Okay, so that should be pretty well seated. Okay, now we're all set to cut the other side. We're already set at 25 thousandths. That's where we should start to cut right now. Roughly, I said we were 50 thousandths too big, but since that part was so out of whack, we're not going to go another 25 thousandths. We're going to move this 15 more, just to play it safe. Always play it safe because you can always remove material you can't add to it. So if you have a part that's really you're trying to hold dimensions to, what you think you want to cut and what you do cut should be two different things. Always go with the lesser amount and check your part. Okay, we're at 25. I'm going to move another 15. We should theoretically have 10 thousandths left on this when we take this next cut. Okay, so now we're ready to take our cut. We turn it on. Okay, now that is your rough cut on your second side. So we shut this off. Okay, now we want to check our part. You got two choices. You can check it with micrometers. Now, when I do a part, I usually leave it hang out, so I don't have to take it out of the vise. The more you take the part out of the vise, the more you might mess it up by getting a chip in it. So we put the mics on. We mic this. Okay, so we have 2" 9" 65, which puts us 15 thousandths above. Now you can also check with your calipers if you have trouble with the mics. So there's 965 right there. Okay, the micrometer said I was 2" 968. The caliper said I was 2" 965. I always go with the micrometers because they're more accurate. So it's telling me I have 18 thousandths more to take off of this part to reach 2" 950. So we're going to move up another 18 thousandths on Z-axis and take our final cut. So I will move 18 more thousandths. Okay, now we're ready for our final cut. So we turn the machine on. We're going to take our last cut. So that finishes the other side. Okay, we will check our part. It should be 2" 950. It's 2" 951, which is pretty good for what we're shooting for. Now to check and see if you have a taper, you come down the other end and check it. 2" 951, there's no taper. You can check in the middle because sometimes the machine will actually cut a dip in the middle. 2" 951. We're absolutely parallel on both sides. So this part is squared up. It is finished other than taking your file again, doing your passes. Now that part is 4 sides square. You can check it on a square, you can check it on a surface plate, it will be square with no imperfections in it because we kept the vise clean, we kept the part clean. If you have to cut the thickness, you can now set it on your parallels, take your pass, turn it over, take your pass and bring it to thickness. But the square, making a part square is probably the single most important thing you're going to do in machining, is starting with a square part. So that is the simplest way I could tell you how to square up a part.